Hey everybody, welcome back to A Cow's Opinion, where I give you the latest and greatest news on the internet. But don't get upset, it is A Cow's Opinion, it is a moot point, and I am very sick, so it's going to be a lesser news video for today. But a lot of stuff has happened, and we are continuously looking at the fallout of the FTC deciding that Microsoft is violating the rules on monopolies and is suing to prevent their merger with Activision Blizzard. Well, not a merger, acquisition, excuse me. So, obviously, everyone's got an opinion on this, including myself. But right now, Phil Spencer's opinion is that PlayStation wants to grow by making the Xbox smaller. So he's been making these comments recently because the FTC probably thought Microsoft would, back down or start offering some concessions, but no, Microsoft is getting ready to go on this lawsuit, and it's going to be harder than I think they think it is for the FTC to stop them. Now, we've already previously looked at a list of mergers that, while the FTC did win in the realm of book publishing, in the realm of biotech and news and other things recently, they've got a bad track record. So the FTC is not happy that when they threaten these lawsuits, the other side is saying, let's go, and putting their helmets on. So Phil Spencer has been trying to say that Sony is the one major opposer to the Microsoft Activision deal. And of course they are. Sony and Microsoft are the ones fighting for console supremacy. Nintendo does very well too, but honestly, Nintendo doesn't care about this stuff because they're literally playing their own games on their Switches. I mean, they don't care about this stuff, guys. They're going to make god-awful amounts of money every single time with their consoles, for the most part. They don't care what Microsoft and Sony want to fight against. They're over here winning when these guys are fighting over Activision Blizzard. So Phil Spencer goes on to say that Sony has a very different view of the industry than we do. They don't ship their games day and date on PC. They do not put their games into the subscription when they launch their games. And that is true. I'm not trying to be a Microsoft fanboy, but they are just better about accessibility to games. Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass is the best deal for your money you will get. Sony recently added a bunch of new tiers, and they suck. So as we know, on Thursday, the U.S. regulator FTC said it would block the $68.7 billion with a B dollar deal because it believed it would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox consoles and its subscription content and cloud gaming business. Now, Spencer's been going on and telling people that, it's basically Sony, the ones, they've grabbed onto Call of Duty, which is the biggest shooter. I think it's going to be hard to prove in a court of law that, the Activision Blizzard is the 7th biggest game publisher that is independent. It's a major acquisition, don't get me wrong. But at a time when third-party studios can put their games on Sony, not even having to physically print anymore, but now on PlayStation Plus, and on Xbox Online, and on your Nintendo Switch on the go, and on Steam, and on Epic, I think that it's not going to help. From a court of law, I don't think that you can prove that this one deal is going to massively suppress competition. Now, Microsoft continuously says that they're not going to lock the game away for at least a decade. And I can believe that. Activision Blizzard prints money with Call of Duty. It makes no sense to suddenly give up hundreds of millions of units of sales. It's going to massively devalue Activision. And last week, Microsoft President Brad Smith provided more details in a Wall Street Journal editorial. And Spencer's been taking the claims that Microsoft had committed to bringing the franchise back to Nintendo after a decade-long absence. So now I don't know how much of it is just like PR timing and whatnot, but Sony doesn't have the best leg to stand on. They complained that Microsoft was going to use this to raise prices, and then Sony raised their first-party prices to $70 a game first. That's not a good look. When you could play Minecraft on your computer and your Nintendo and your Xbox with anybody else on those systems and just build things, and then Sony says, oh, well, to protect you guys from the internet, we can't let you play with anybody outside of the Sony online universe. And people are like, you telling me Nintendo is bad? And meanwhile, Nintendo and Microsoft were just making PR hay on Twitter by saying, hey, Nintendo, do you want to build a house together? And Nintendo's like, yeah. Some of you guys might remember that. It was a pretty cool little smack up to them. And getting back even further into this, Microsoft even offered Sony Call of Duty on the PlayStation Plus. Now, they are still trying to push it. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sick. But one of the things is a series of promises to rival platform holders that should Microsoft be successful with the purchase, the top-selling Call of Duty series would remain on their systems for the next 10 years at least. The offer went down well with Valve, which is Steam, and was professionally acknowledged by Nintendo, which makes so many games and has so many third-party studios that when they were like, Call of Duty might be a little violent for us, they made Splatoon, which sells massive numbers of units for them. So I don't think they really care, but, they like giving their players choice on their Switch. But Sony, reportedly, are not as keen. Now, this article goes on to prove that they've got the most, Sony has the most to lose should the Activision sale go through. I'm not trying to be a Microsoft fanboy. I'm not saying that Sony isn't right to be a little bit worried. But some of the frustration that they're feeling is explained by this new report on Bloomberg, which says that in addition to promising Call of Duty games would remain on PlayStation for at least the next decade, as standalone retail titles, as well as arriving on the same day as they did other systems, Microsoft also told Sony that the series could be offered on the subscription service PlayStation Plus. So it's important to know that this isn't a recent addition. Bloomberg says the PlayStation Plus aspect was part of the original deal that Sony is clearly not happy with. And the FTC are not happy either, and the EU, of course, has their investigation as well. The UK is investigating, but again, it's going to be really hard on a legal basis to prove that it's going to substantially hurt consumers. So I don't know. I think this is going to slow it down a lot. The problem with Sony is that Microsoft has a lot of money to buy studios. So they can play this acquisition game as much as they want. Sony cannot. Microsoft bought ZeniMax, and now they're buying Activision Blizzard, and Sony's bought a couple of really good first-party studios that really only put stuff out on Sony anyway. So they're not really bulking themselves up. 1 second, I think I got to sneeze. No, I don't. So Sony can't play this game. That Microsoft's found a way to just surpass Sony in titles and quality. Honestly, long term, Sony's going to need to make better first-person shooters themselves if they only want them on their stuff. Microsoft has Halo. Look, love it or hate it, what it's been doing recently with the total lore reboot. I'm not a fan of that. But Halo sold pretty well. It didn't have the staying power because it was way too buggy, and that is a video for another time on why games keep being released in all these buggy states here on the Cow's Opinion. But long term, I really feel, I'm not saying Sony shouldn't fight the good fight. Long term, Sony needs to rebuild. They used to have that, I think it was called Hive first-person game that was supposed to compete with Halo. They also had the Killzone series, which was pretty good. The problem with Killzone is that was obviously an Axis and Allies World War II kind of thing, where the evil people on the Axis power were the Hellgast. They even looked like evil soldiers from World War II. And then in the last game that they made, for some reason they decided to make, hey, we've decided that the good people now have to share their planet with the bad people after the bad people destroyed their planet. And the good people aren't angels. It's never a good thing when you start your program with saying, here's your good guys and here's your bad guys, and then say, actually, they're both morally gray. It is bad storytelling. But that is all the time we have today, as well as all the time I can talk because I'm a little under the weather. Guys, I can't even tell you what I'm under the weather with. I said it in a community post, but if I say it in this video, YouTube will probably suppress the video, and they need all the views that they can get. So, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover. Is there any story you want me to research and put a Cow's Opinion on that? Thank you so much, and I'm going to go take a nap. You have a wonderful day.